Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our short webinar series. I'm Derek Taylor, a sales and business development specialist with Goodwin Company Property Management. As a leader in the association management space, we like to provide as much information to our community as possible. And in our short webinar series, we'll be addressing some frequently asked questions on topics that board members and homeowners might be seeking further explanation on. Today, I have an expert in his field joining us to provide a professional opinion on the subject that we're going to discuss. Mr. Clint Brown, would you please introduce yourself and speak a little to your background and your role that you play in the world of association management?
Well, thank you, Derek, and hello, Texas. First and foremost, thank you all for having me today on this Q&A series. Hopefully, Derek and I can provide a little bit of insight. So as Derek mentioned, my name's Clint Brown. I'm with the law firm Roberts, Markell, Weinberg, Butler, Haley. I'm a shareholder and I lead our community association division statewide. So our law firm is across the state. We're in all the major markets and we do a lot of community association law. So we're here to help and hopefully provide a little bit of guidance today. And again, before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody understands the advice Derek and I are going to be talking through is not legal advice. So we're giving it for merely educational purposes. So, keep that in mind. If you need legal advice based on this series or just in general, make sure to reach out to your Goodwin team and or your legal counsel to get the proper advice moving forward. With that, Mr. Taylor, back to you, sir.
Clint. I appreciate your time today and joining us and willing to talk a little bit about it. So one of the questions that we get frequently is a townhome a condominium or a single family home association? How's a townhome defined and managed within the state of Texas?
Oh, I get this question a lot. I'm unfortunately going to have to provide the old attorney answer, Derek. It depends. So it really depends on the association's governing documents. A townhome can actually be a single family community or a condominium community. It can be either or, and it really does depend on your governing documents. So you're looking at an association, it's called ABC Townhome Community Inc. The first thing you've got to do is look in your declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs, deed restrictions. All those terms of art are interchangeable, and it's basically your declaration. So you find that document first. That's step number one. Step number two, you go to your definition section. If there's a definition in your definition section for capital L lot, then there is a high likelihood you are dealing with a single family community townhome. If, however, you go to your definition section and there is a definition for a capital U unit, then there is a high likelihood that it is a condominium. And why this is important is that there are two very, very different laws that apply. Single family communities are bound by Chapter 209 of the Texas Property Code and other sections, but 209 is the big one. For condominiums, however, they are bound by Chapter 81 and or Chapter 82 of the Texas Property Code. So really big distinctions there. And, that's why it's important to understand what kind of townhome you live in.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Clint, and providing a little insight. I do have a follow-up question for you. So let's say that a developer builds a townhome community and it's under the condominium association rules, and the developer turns it over to the homeowners. There's a new board in place and they don't like it. They'd rather be a single family townhome community. Is it possible to move it from one to the other, or has it been declared and it is for in perpetuity that kind of community?
It is possible, but I have never dealt with a successful conversion from condominium to single family. So for all practical purposes, Derek, you're kind of stuck with that condominium regime. Now you can amend your declaration to make your condo regime, that's a townhome, look as much as you can like a single family community. So I've done that where you amend a lot of sections to get it as close to single family as possible. But at the end of the day, it is still going to be a condominium regime.
Gotcha. Clint, outside of the terminology of townhome and or single family and condominium regime, is it mainly the common areas and the common assets of the community that differentiate the two? And is that why there's different sections of property code that apply to them?
Yeah. So again, really good question, and that this is one of the big distinguishing factors between condominiums and single family communities. So in a condominium, there are no lots. So when you look at the legal description or kind of the plat for a condominium regime and a true plat that gets recorded, it is one big old piece of dirt. And the big piece of dirt includes common elements, general, limited common elements, and units. Each owner owns a piece of the pie, a piece of the capital P property. So if we do easy math here, let's say we've got 100 units in a condominium regime and they're all equal. So it doesn't depend on square footage. Everybody has one vote and pays the same assessment. Then you would own 1% of that pie. So it's not the unit dirt you have your unit on. It is literally 1% of the entire pie. Common elements, limited, general, and then the unit. Single family, if you look at the plat for a single family, they're divided up. There are lots, there are common elements, and you actually own the dirt. You own the dirt where your lot is situated on, number one. Number two, you do not own the common areas. The association owns the common areas, and you get an easement of enjoyment. So you get to enjoy the common areas, but you don't own them. So those are kind of the two big distinguishing factors between single family and condominium setups.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation, Clint. Got a high level look at the difference between some of the different townhome communities we have here in the state of Texas. Anything else you'd like to comment on it before we move to the next topic?
Derek, I could probably spend a couple hours talking about it, but this is a kind of a taste. And as Derek mentioned, there's a lot of webinars on the Goodwin website. Our law firm's website has webinars too that dive in a little bit deeper. And Derek, I think you mentioned this, they're free to anybody, whether they're a Goodwin managed association or not. And the same holds true for our law firm. So a lot more info, but I feel like we did a pretty good summary here. So thank you all for having me. If
anyone has further questions, feel free to reach out to your legal counsel that represents your association. Reach out to your Goodwin rep or your property manager. It's a conversation we'd like to have with you. And I think we can probably get a little deeper into the weeds if we need to on the subject. So thank you again for your time today, Clint, and we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. See you, Derek.